Hi everybody, and welcome to another new episode of New Start Monday Knits. I'm Louise from Wildflower Wool, and thanks so much for stopping back to see what I'm working on. I'm working my way through 52 new projects, one a week for the entire year, and hopefully having some finishes along the way, which I do this week. Give you a little sneak peek. Anyways, last video, I told you I was knitting some headbands and I was embellishing them with little knitted flowers. And I'm pretty sure I promised you I would show you how I made the flowers. Here's what they look like. I posted some pictures of the headband and the flowers on my Instagram page. So I just made a bunch of different little flowers. They're really simple to make. It is 2 rows. It is a cast on row and a cast off row with a few knit stitches stuck in there. So I make them with any size yarn. I just make sure your knitting needle matches your weight of yarn. I've done them in crochet cotton. I've done them all the way up into super bulky yarn. This one is 2 strands of worsted weight done on a bigger needle, and this is just 1 strand of worsted weight done on like a 4.5 millimeter. This one here, I just grabbed my larger needle, but it's fine. They're pretty forgiving. Whatever you've got, you can make it work. You want to cast on 35 stitches. I use the same stitch count no matter what size of yarn I'm using. I just adjust my needle size for my yarn. You can make larger flowers, bigger, larger, small. Okay, let's try this again. Larger flowers or smaller flowers, depending on the weight of yarn and your size of needle. This makes a 5-petaled flower, and you'll need a darning needle, and that's about it. So 35 stitches. So I use whatever cast on I'm teaching my students. This is a great project just for reinforcing, casting on the knit stitch and casting off. And you get a cute little flower, and you can do it in 5 minutes. So I'm going to quickly count my stitches. I want 35. Five, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30. Okay, I've got too many. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. I've done the long tail cast on. Sometimes I've done it with the knitted cast on as well, and don't really see any difference. So I should tell you, I did not design this. This is not my creation. I found it in a pattern book, and it's designed by Nikki Epstein. But if you haven't come across this anywhere, I'm going to share her pattern with you because it's really cute for embellishing. So I've got my 35 stitches on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit 1, cast off 5, and just repeat that across the row. So I'll show you here. Just do a knit stitch. So I've got 1 knit stitch. Now I want to cast off 5. Don't include this first knit stitch in those cast off stitches. So you're going to knit 2 more stitches. So we're going to leave that initial knit 1 stitch. It stays on the needle. We've got our 2 extra stitches here for the cast off. Now we're going to cast off 1. So you're not going to count the stitches you knit. You're counting the ones you pick up and pass over. So we've cast off 1, cast off a 2nd, and a 3rd, and a 4th, and a 5th. So that is going to make our petal. Now we knit 1 more. So we're going to do this 5 times because we're going to have 5 petals. So I've knit 1 more, which ends up leaving a pair of stitches right here. Now I'm going to cast off 5 more stitches. So I knit 2 more, because those 2 stitches sitting on my needle, these 2 right here, we're not going to touch those. I've knit 2 more, and these are where I start my cast off. So I am casting off 1, cast off 2, and remember, it's easy to get caught counting the stitches as you're knitting them, but you want to count the ones as you cast off. I think that was 4, and I think this is 5. Yeah, so if you get talking and you lose count of how many stitches you've cast off, well, I always think you'll have one petal that's a little wonky, a little smaller, a little bigger. And I always think, well, wildflowers are never perfect, so maybe our knitting ones don't either. Okay, so I've knit my other stitch, my 1 stitch, so that gives us a pair here. Then I've knit my 2 stitches to cast off. So I'm going to cast off 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. All right, knit 1 more, knit 2 to get prepared for the cast off, and cast off 1. So it's very simple, and you can see why this makes a great little project for people just learning to knit, because it really gives you lots of casting on, gives you lots of practice casting off, and practicing your knit stitch. And you get a cute little flower at the end that you can embellish. You can put it on a hat, you can put it on a headband, you could put it on a bag, you could even just put on a pin on it and it can act as a brooch. Okay, so I'm down to my last stitches. I'm going to repeat our pattern of knit 1. Now I'm going to knit 2 so I can get prepared to cast off. And you should have 5 stitches, which I'm not sure I do. 1, 2, 3, oops, 4. Okay, while I was talking, I thought I was trying to talk and count in my head. One of these petals I cast off 6 instead of 5. You should end up with casting off 5, and you end up with 1 stitch. So see how we've got pairs? We've got 2 stitches here, we have 2 stitches here, 2 stitches here. We have 1 on the end and 1 on the end here. When these are pulled around, they make a pair. So you're going to end up with 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to have 1 petal that's a little bigger, but we're not going to worry about it. I'm going to just leave a small length of yarn, snip my working yarn, and all right, I did not bring a darning needle up here with me. So what I'm going to do, this is another little tip. If you don't have a darning needle with you, take your tail of yarn, just lay it over top of the needle, and lift your stitch up and over, almost like you're casting off. So we're taking our stitch and pulling it over that little tail of working yarn. See my white loop there? That's that little tail. So I'm just pulling over those last 10 stitches. So this is a little trick if you don't have a darning needle with you. There's always ways you can improvise. Anyway, so this is making the flower, and once I get all of these 10 stitches pulled onto, okay, here we go. There it is. So now I've got them all on here. I can just pull my tail through, and it's just there. All those stitches are on that piece of yarn. We're going to pull it tight like a drawstring, and it's going to just bring all those petals into shape. And then we have a little flower, just like that. So obviously you're going to take your ends. You've got two ends. You've got your cast on, and your cast off. Don't worry if you've got one, like your cast on, if you're doing a long tail, it's a little bit longer. You can use this to attach it to your hat, your headband, whatever you're going to put it on. Now, if you've made a larger flower, like this one where I've doubled 2 strands, and if you make a smaller flower using 1 strand and smaller needles, you can layer them, which gives kind of a cute look too. Does that? Anyways, that's cute. And you can also put in the center, lots of times I will put a bead, a wooden bead, a glass bead, or put a button, and that looks really fun too. Anyways, that's my quick little tutorial on how to do this 2-row flower. I will at least write out those 2-row instructions and put it in the description box underneath this video, okay? I was going to say I'll try to link it somewhere, but my tech skills sometimes are not all that good. So I will at least type it out for you so you can screenshot in the description box below, all right? So that was just a little catch up for last week. Or 2 weeks ago, because it's been 2 weeks since we did a video. So what last week's new cast on was for the week was a cute little pair of mittens. I love this color. You know I love orange and yellow. This ball was it was only a part ball. I tried making an adult pair of mittens because I kind of gassed and I thought, I think I have enough yarn. I didn't. I cast on an adult pair, got up to the thumb, and I thought, I'm not going to have enough to do a second mitt. So I pulled it out and I did a child size mitt. And this mitten pattern is knit flat, and it comes from this book that I picked up at Michael's, and I'm going to use this for people who have never knit mitts and are a little intimidated by the idea of using DPNs for their first time. So it's knit flat and then seamed up, which I'm kind of enjoying doing because it's a little bit different than how I've normally knit mitts. I've done this pattern years ago and I was kind of excited to come across it again. But it does leave a little bit of a bulky seam. But, you know, it's how you like. If you really don't like DPNs, this is a great little pattern to knit it flat. And I've started another one in a bigger size. This is the Scandi yarn that I found at Michael's, but people have been telling me they can't find it anymore. So it looks like it was here and quickly disappeared. I'm not sure why, because it's really great. It feels really nice and it gives that Fair Isle look. So I am just up. I've got my markers in for my mittens, or for my thumb. So these are going fun. I'm having a great time. I'll show you what this is looking like next week. This week's new start, the Fiber Friends podcast has a self-striping sock knit along starting. So if you want to join in, head over to Ravelry, to the Fiber Friends Ravelry group. There's a chit chat thread and there's a finished thread if you want to post some finished pictures. We've got a great prize that was donated by Little Red Mitten. So of course, I found some Felici. Oh my goodness, Felici. That was gifted to me by my friend Trish that I've been wanting to start forever. And I finally started, and look at, I have got stripes. So this yarn is from Knit Picks, and I've got a second ball wound and ready to go. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me for another episode of New Start Mondays. Follow along with me on Instagram using the hashtag New Start Monday Knits. If you're inspired and you want to knit some mitts, or if you want to join in the sock cal, that would be super amazing. So I'm hoping I will be right back here next Monday with hopefully an update on some socks, maybe have this skein started, and have a finished pair of mitts, plus a brand new start. So in the comments below, let me know, have you knit mitts flat before? Is this something you would want to do for a change? Try something different, switch things up? I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.